What's good, YouTubers and YouTubettes? This is JB Sports back again with another one. Got some late breaking news. Ryan Garcia versus Luke Campbell is official. Now, the date hasn't been confirmed yet, but they're looking at the month of October for that fight to take place. Now, as we know, we've got two confirmed fights, big fights, one in the UFC and one in boxing that's supposed to take place on October 24th, featuring Khabib versus Gadidri. Khabib is making his long-awaited return after the death of his father due to the COVID-19. He is the number one guy in the UFC right now. Now that John Jones has taken his sabbatical, announced his retirement from the UFC, Khabib is the unquestioned number one guy in the UFC after defeating Conor McGregor last year. He's going to fight Gadidri on October 24th. Dana White, the president of the UFC, announced that tonight. Now, that's going to put a big dent into Gervonta Davis' first pay-per-view fight against Leo Santa Cruz that's going to take place on the same date. So, sports bars and people that follow both sports going to have to make a decision on what they're going to show on October 24th. Me, myself, personally, I'm going to be looking at Leo Santa Cruz versus Gervonta Davis. Now, what I suspect should happen is UFC maybe start that card a little bit earlier and make sure the main event of Khabib and Gadidri will be over with before Leo Santa Cruz versus Gervonta Davis main event fight start. Hopefully they'll do that, because I think previously UFC has had fights on the same night of the big pay-per-view fights for boxing, and Dana White have got his card started a little bit earlier, and they've got the main event out in front of the main event from the boxing card. So hopefully that's what they'll do, man. But we'll see, man. Maybe they can do vice versa. Maybe Gervonta Davis and Leo Santa Cruz can get in the ring before Khabib and Gadidri and get their fight out the way. And therefore we can see both main events, man. I'm looking forward to it, but it's going to be interesting to see how it plays out. I think it's going to actually hurt boxing more than hurt the UFC, man. You look at the UFC last pay-per-view fight, it did $1.3 million. 1.3 million views is what their last UFC card. UFC, I think it was UFC 251 or UFC 250. It did 1.3 million. Not the last, either the last one or the one before the last one did 1.3 million pay-per-views. That's more than, well, that ties, that's a little bit more than what Deontay Wilder and Tyson Fury 2 did. I think it did around 1.2 when you include the pay-per-view and the live streaming and the Fox app and stuff like that. I think it did a total of 1.2. So UFC is by far this year, and that was last year. This year has had the highest rated pay-per-view card by far. As boxing is not even put on pay-per-view card since the coronavirus, since the pandemic has gripped the United States and the world. So we'll see what happens. We'll see what transpires. But let's get back to the topic at hand. Got a little bit off topic, man. It's so many things happening tonight as far as combat sports. Let's get to the Luke Campbell versus Ryan Garcia. It's going to take place in October. It's a done deal. Ryan Garcia was 2 fights ago, before he had these last 2 fights, man. I kind of didn't put him in the same category as the other young guns in the sport of boxing. That includes Gervonta Tank Davis, Teofimo Lopez, and Shakur Stevenson. I didn't really put him in that category, but his last 2 performances have been top-notch, man. It's not so much the caliber of opponents that he's beaten, but the way he's looked beating those last 2 guys. Fonseca, man, destroyed him early in that fight, knocked him out. Dunn, a lot of people thought he might not have been ready for Dunn. That was the fight before the Fonseca fight. He knocked him out in the first round in a brutal knockout of the candidate of knockout of the year type of knockout in the first round of Richard Dunno. And that was a great win for Ryan Garcia. I might be butchering his first name. I know his last name is Dunno. They had a lot of bad blood leading into that fight. And they had supposed to fight earlier than they actually did fight. And a lot of people were saying that Ryan Garcia wasn't ready for that level of opponent, but he destroyed him. And then backed that up with an impressive knockout of Francisco Fonseca in his last performance. Those 2 last performances have kind of elevated Ryan Garcia in my mind and put him on the status of, I'm not saying he's better than those guys, but he's in there. Instead of a top 3 young guns, I say it's 4 young guns. I put him in the category with Shakur, Tank Davis, Teofimo, and I put Ryan Garcia right in that same level. Now I know a lot of you guys asking, JB Sports, where's Devin Haney? Why you not putting him in there? Devin Haney has not had that type of performance. He hasn't had that. Oh my God! Did you just see what Devin Haney did to this opponent in his last fight? He hasn't had that type of fight yet. Ryan Garcia has had that. Tank Davis has obviously had that. With those, one punch, one hitter quitter, highlight reel type of knockouts. Tank's had it. Ryan Garcia had it. Obviously, Teofimo Lopez had a lot of them. And Shakur Stevenson has not had that highlight reel knockout, but his technical skills, his defensive skills is on the level of a young Floyd Mayweather. That's why you got to put him up there with those three guys. Devin Haney, he's got skill levels. He's got the offense and he's got the defense, but he hasn't shown the power of a Teofimo Lopez or even a Ryan Garcia. And his technical skills is good, but it's not on the level, in my opinion, of a Shakur Stevenson. That's why I kind of put him behind those four young guns right there. Not to say that he can't get there. He's working with Floyd Mayweather Jr. right now, working in his gym, and he's opening up his bag of tricks and showing him a few things and giving him a few pointers on what it takes to be a great fighter. And hopefully he can pick it up. He's a young guy. He's still got room for improvement. And we'll see what happens in his next fight as he's slated to take on Yorkis Gamboa in a fight that the Zone is working on right now. I'm hearing September 26th is the date for that fight. But as far as Ryan Garcia versus Luke Campbell, man, I think it's a good matchup. Luke Campbell is a guy that's a solid fighter, man. A solid fighter. I would say he's a C-plus level fighter. Not quite B level like I would put like a Daniel Jacobs. I don't think he's quite there, or a Daniel Jacobs, or let me see another B level fighter. Danny Garcia. I wouldn't quite put him on that level of fighter. Sean Porter, good B level fighters. I wouldn't probably put him there. So I probably put him maybe around C-plus level fighter. And Luke Campbell did a good job against the Matrix. The Matrix, Lomachenko, Vasily Lomachenko did a good job against him. But you can watch that fight and know that he was a much bigger fighter in that fight. But he was still getting walked down by Lomachenko as he was backing him up, and I didn't think that was a good look for Ryan Garcia. I think he was kind of a little bit intimidated by the myth, the boxing skills, and the career and the resume of Lomachenko. I think he was a little bit intimidated by that. He put on a good performance, and he did good, especially early on in that fight. But when he had a chance to maybe try to, grit his teeth, grit that mouthpiece, and take a stand and really, go into that fight, he seemed to be kind of not willing to do that. And he kind of let Lomachenko kind of take over in the second half of that fight. Kind of got overwhelmed at times, and Lomachenko was able to win a comfortable decision in that fight with Luke Campbell. Luke Campbell, like I said, he's a good, solid fighter, but he seems that when he gets into an elite level competition, he comes up short. He fought Jorge Linares, another guy that, now he's probably a C-plus level fighter, but in his prime, in his heyday, was a good B-level fighter, Jorge Linares. And Campbell fought a good fight in that fight. Some people thought he won that fight. I thought he lost it. It was a close fight. I think he lost the decision to Jorge Linares. So that was his first chance to show that he was on that level, and didn't do it. And then against Vasily Lomachenko, that was another chance for him to show himself to be on that level, and came up short. So this is another chance, man, for him to get a big win. Now, if he beats Ryan Garcia, it won't be looked at as the same win as would have been over Vasily Lomachenko, obviously, or even Jorge Linares when he fought him at that time. But it still would be a good win over a rising young prospect that looked very impressive in his last two fights. And a lot of people are going to be picking him to beat Luke Campbell. But this is a true 50-50 fight. So when you get these type of fights, 50-50 fights, you got to embrace these type of fights and really try to tune in, man, because a lot of times you're not going to get no 50-50 fight. This fight here is 50-50. The Lomachenko-Lopez fight. Vasily Lomachenko versus Teofimo Lopez. That's a 50-50 fight. So, that's why one thing I like about these fights that's getting announced now. They putting a lot of 50-50 fights. The Jermell Charlo versus Jason Rosario, that's a 50-50 fight. A lot of people might not agree with me, but Earl Spence Jr. versus Danny Garcia, especially Earl Spence Jr. coming off the performance against Sean Porter, which he took some shots, he took some punches, man. He can't take them shots from Danny Garcia. Danny Garcia has more power than Sean Porter. That's why Danny Garcia ran to the ring after that fight and said, "I want Earl Spence next." I think right behind him, running to the ring, was Keith Thurman, who was he wanted now say he wants some smoke with Earl Spence Jr. He looked a little bit vulnerable, so he's gonna have to me, in my opinion, go back to the style of fighting that he did in the Mikey Garcia fight. I mean, Errol Spence Jr. Go back to the style of fighting where he used his jab, fall off the back foot, used his skill, jab right hand, make the guy reset, control range, control distance, pot shot from the outside, go to the body, and work your technical skills and your superior boxing skills, and use your advantages with a longer reach and a better technical skills and better technical background. I think that's going to be the key for Earl Spence Jr. against Danny Garcia. If he fights the way he fought against Sean Porter, then that's a true 50-50 fight, man. It can go either way, man. If he gets caught by one of Danny Garcia's left hook, he could get knocked out. Danny Garcia's got big time power, man. He's one of the hardest hitters in the welterweight division. You know, I probably rate him out of all. Like when I say the top 5 welterweights, you look at obviously the big 3 is Earl Spence Jr., Terrence Bud Crawford, Manny Pac-Man Pacquiao, in no particular order. Then you got the last 2, in my opinion. You got Danny Garcia and Sean Porter. That's probably your top 5 welterweights. So anytime you get these guys in the ring together, it's gonna be a good competitive fight. And I like this matchup, man. And again, Earl's gonna have to fight a different way than he fought against Sean Porter, in my opinion, when he fights Danny Garcia, who has devastating power in both hands. Now, what I've really been impressed with from what I've seen of Danny Garcia lately is everybody know he's got that great left hook. He closes his eyes and he don't even have to be looking. He can be looking at you, looking down and throwing that left hook and landing it. And to me, people think he's got his eyes closed, but he's actually looking at his opponent's feet. He see what his feet said, and he knows what his feet said. He knows where to place that left hook and get that shot off. But he's developed that right hand. That right hand is devastating too, as you saw in his last 2 fights against Ivan Redcash and against what's my boy name? He fought in Health Dignity Park in Carson, California. That boy name escaping me. He's lost a lot of close, controversial decisions. His last fight, he lost to Robert Easter Jr. in a fight a lot of people thought he won. Can't remember his name, but he was able to land right hands and stop him early in that fight. I think he stopped him in the 4th, 5th round. Was able to knock him out, and that guy had never been stopped before. He fought Adrian Broner in Adrian Broner hometown, Cincinnati, and lost a split decision fight. A lot of people thought he won that fight. That guy was a good fighter. But in that fight was the first fight when I saw Danny starting to land that right hand. You know, starting to develop that right hand power to go along with that left hook, and that's what I've noticed that Danny has really improved on, being able to develop the power from both sides, the left side and the right side, meaning the left hook and the right hand, and that's what's going to give Earl Spence all he can handle, especially if he fights the style of fight that he fought against Sean Porter. So that's going to be a good fight, and a fight that I made this video about, going on off in the weeds, because they got so many fights coming up, man. It's going to be a true great end of 2020 as far as boxing concerned. Hopefully these fights get off with no hiccups, but we'll see what happens, man. But Luke Campbell, a guy that's a C-plus level fighter, going against Ryan Garcia, who has really impressed me, in particular his last 2 fights. Guy's 20-0, looking to go 21-0. It's going to be a good matchup. They say the fight's going to take place in the United States. If that's the case, if it takes place in October, Golden Boy has got Indio, California as pretty much their bubble, which pretty much they're going to be showcasing most of their fights. As last Friday they showed one of their top prospects, one of their top young guns, and Virgil Ortiz Jr. was able to stop Samuel Vargas in Indio, California. So I suspect that'll be the front runner to host the fight. And we'll see what happens, man. You probably have it's going to be probably no crowds, so they're going to have to make it happen there, man. It's going to be on the Zone app, so we'll see how many subscriptions they'll be able to get, man. But Ryan Garcia is a young developing, rising prospect. As you look at his Twitter following, he's got a huge Twitter following, and he's one of the most prolific and most known boxers on Twitter, along with Javante Davis. And so it's going to be very, very interesting to see what happens, see what transpires. I think how the fight's going to transpire, man, I think it's going to be a back and forth type of fight, man. I think Luke Campbell is going to try to use his experience and use his advantage as far as being on that level, fighting in high level fights. This is gonna be Ryan Garcia's first time, but I just don't see nothing special in Luke Campbell. He's a solid C+ level fighter, and if Ryan Garcia is who I think he's shown to be in these last two fights, I'm looking for him to get the win over Luke Campbell. I'm looking for a late stoppage. I don't think it's gonna be nothing early like his last two fights. I think Luke Campbell, knowing that the last two opponents of Ryan Garcia was knocked out early, will be very cautious early on in that fight, and I think he'll work his way into the fight in the middle rounds and cause Ryan Garcia some problems. But I think ultimately the youth, the power, the more versatile fighter in Ryan Garcia will pave a way to a win for Ryan and get him a late stoppage. You know, he's got a great left hook, too, as he was able to drop Fonseca with a devastating left hook, man. I think later on in the fight, say around the 10th round, I think he catches Luke Campbell with the left hook, drops and stops Luke Campbell in a dramatic fashion, in a very highly entertaining, competitive, close match up to that point. It's going to be close. I think it's going to be nip and tuck. Some people might even have Luke up in that fight. It's going to be very competitive up to that point, but I think Ryan Garcia power carries late, and he gets the stoppage in the 10th round. That's how I'm calling it. Let me know what you think in the comment section about Luke Campbell versus Ryan Garcia getting announced for October. As October 24th is going to be a special day and for a lot of combat sports fans, but it's going to be kind of in a bad way, bad in a way too, because you got two big time fights that I'm looking forward to happening on the same night. And it's going to cause for me to make a tough decision, man. But I already told you the decision I'm going to make, though. But hopefully one of those people, either UFC or boxing, start their programming earlier where they can get the main event. At least we can watch both main events. We're not going to be able to pretty much watch both cards. I'm sure UFC is going to have a great undercard, and we'll see what kind of undercard they have for Tank Davis versus Leo Santa Cruz. But hopefully the main events will be not happening at the same time. They're programming where one of those main events will get on first, and then the other main event will come behind it, and we'll be able to catch both of them. We'll see what happens. We'll see what transpires. But let me know what you think about Luke Campbell versus Ryan Garcia. It's official. And let me know who you think going to win that lightweight showdown between those two guys. The UK versus USA is going down in October. Let me know what you think in the comment section. Subscribe to JB Sports, the man, the myth, the legend. I holla.